Good evening, everyone. Glad to see you tonight for our board meeting, our May 27th, 2026 board meeting. We have almost all our members present: Susan McDonald, Sarah Archibald, Marta Barlow, Christian Swenson, Carrie Shippers, and Lisa Kalinikos. So let's begin with our opening verse. We'll call the meeting to order and begin with our opening verse. And I'll read it out loud for everyone. May our feelings penetrate into the center of our heart and seek in love to unite itself with human beings seeking the same goal. And with the spirit beings who bearing grace, strengthening us from realms of light and illuminating our love, are gazing down upon our earnest, heartfelt strivings. By Rudolf Steiner. Do you have a thought to share with us for a Steiner study thought, Christian?
Really briefly, one thing, this is going to take a slightly different direction than the ones I've done in the past, but I think it's worth being clear-eyed about, honestly, the psychology of Gen Z and Generation Alpha, who will be teaching, because who the Azure Fields will be teaching, because I feel as if the more I look at the cultural products of the people of younger generations, the more I realize that some basic assumptions that we might take for granted are being questioned on a level below the level of usual thought. For instance, and I'm just going to give this as something to chew on, something that I'm not sure is true, but I'm wondering what you think, is that people below a certain age don't view the self as an essence. They view it as a musical instrument almost. That's my sense. Is that if you look at apps like TikTok, people will perform a collective pattern, right? To the point where for sufficiently young people, the self is something like a style, like an aesthetic, like a dance, like a pattern. And, in one register, that's actually something Steiner would really approve of. The only problem is that it's mediated by a corporation that has bad motives and then it distracts you from the body, right? But I think that it's worth being clear-eyed that these kids that we're going to teach are going to come in with assumptions we might not realize they have because it's subconscious for them too. And I think it's worth just entertaining the possibility that we might not mean the same things by words we think are so basic that they're understood by everybody. So that's just food for thought.
Do you mind expanding on that a little bit? And I've got a kid at home. I'm wondering if you've seen specific verbiage or what you've seen that's different.
Have you heard the word "it's giving X"?
I've heard the phrase "it's giving," but not "it's giving X" specifically.
Like it's giving this, it's giving that. Yeah. It's giving the basic sense, I think, is that the self emanates a pattern, right? The self emanates and it's giving this. That's what it feels like. You scroll on TikTok and you're navigating a field of forces that are gravitating you towards an aesthetic center. It's giving this. You feel a pull, a vibe, an attraction, and it's a field of forces. It's honestly the equivalent of what a dog would see if their smell were sight, right? It's a field of feelings. Um, and I just think it's worth noting that we're going to really need to, if we're going to reach these kids, we need to accommodate for their lived world. Because if we're going to lead them toward the body and toward engagement and toward work, we're going to need to know where they're coming from. And that's not intuitive for people over a certain age. I'll put it that way.
Oh, no, I agree. That's really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. All right, I picked the accountability that times two that charter boards have to look at, and this is just the first part of the accountability, and it is the accountability to be responsive to our customers in marketing and conventional public schools. They have their students assigned to them to attend a particular school based on where they live. In contrast, a charter school must recruit and retain a voluntary enrollment. And so the accountability here is that we need to remember that that it has to do with creating an atmosphere where our school can keep the school has you can have numbers growing rather than shrinking. The work here says that suppose the K-6 charter school fails to enroll a kindergarten student. If the taxpayer funding for that student is $7,000 a year, the school has potentially lost a minimum of $42,000. Why? Because if the school loses the student before first grade, it's unlikely the student will re-enroll in subsequent years. Thus, you have to multiply when you lose a student, for instance, sometimes up to 6 years later to get a true cost for losing that student. In the marketing world, they call this the idea of sometimes the lifetime value of the customer, or the lifetime value of having a student that's dedicated to our school and stays with us. And then just for fun, it says multiply that loss by, say, 12 kindergarten students without assuming siblings even, and you have a school just lost potential revenue of more than $500,000 over 6 years. So all these little things that happen that are disaffecting our parents and communications can really snowball for a charter school. So we have to have market accountability. The charter school should not just be another public school which assigns students to itself. We can't do that. So the board needs to exercise power over this issue by defining the outcomes that they want to achieve and evaluating how well the school executive is achieving them. So it's more about looking at the future of what we want the school to look like and how we want. It says a wise board will protect its executive from people that are that, like, if one student leaves the school is in an unhappy situation, the best thing to do for the board is to protect the executive director from people that might be that might want to override her decision, just so that we keep that one person that leaves the school is the only person that's disaffected by something that might happen. And one final thing pertaining to market accountability, it says just as students are not assigned to attend, teachers cannot be assigned to teach at your school either. So we have a real responsibility to keep our instructional environment and compensation and tangible appreciation for faculty that in our school as well. So they recommend that the board keeps high standards for student achievement for all students, maintains a laser-like focus on achieving standards, achieving those standards, and establishes appropriate boundaries through policies governing executive action. Then stay out of his or her way. It says, designate authority to your executive to hire and fire whomever he or she chooses. And hold the executive accountable for student results. So if the board is looking at most of those issues, it says that they will be addressing some of the most important issues they can address in this accountability of marketing and market accountability. This is the first of two. Accountabilities with marketing and authorizing is next. So for this month, I just wanted to remind myself and others, about how important it is to be, receptive to the people that we're really teaching, the parents and the community, but also to defend and underlie our defense of the director and their decisions with marketing as well, and with the teachers and students. Those are the two things I wanted to emphasize today from our charter school board university. So our next order of business is to review the minutes from the previous meeting.
Last month we had our call to order, and then our starter study went over curative education for teenagers and what that would entail at Azure Fields High School. We talked about the developmental tasks for high schoolers and how the core of every child is the individuality at the center of who they are. We had our board capacity building from First Things First, and we talked about building an orientation process and paperwork. And there was a slideshow that went along with that. We had a public comment from Shannon Greer, just shouting at the board, and I believe it was Carol. We had a review of the previous minutes, and we had a new business. We discussed the board retreat, and we decided on a date of June 8th. We had our CSP grant update, a building update. Other state updates included the new legislative bills that were going to affect us. There was a recommendation to move to closed session to discuss personnel decisions. And we voted to discuss the character of a potential hire. And we also voted to give an exception to the salary schedule for that hire as well. We had an update from Marta on the financial committee. We discussed the meeting outreach PCC, the billboards, and the other marketing campaigns. We discussed the birthday party that was going up and other ongoing things to help build our enrollment. Sarah asked Susan about the suggestions and for signups and other recommendations for canvassing other charter schools, and then we had an adjournment. Susan, you're muted.
Okay, do we have someone who could
There needs to be discussion first. Are there any updates or amendments? I think after the board meeting, the date for the June meeting was potentially changed.
Mhm.
It was not. We were discussing it, but it did remain on June 8th.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that point.
Yes, thank you.
Any other discussion about the minutes? Any other notes that anybody has?
As far as the retreat goes, I'm still gonna be out of town on June 8th. Am I okay to not come?
So then you would be marked absent with notice.
Is it there at the new school?
Let me look.
Could you send out the info again? Cause I may have to move some things around on Monday.
Monday, June 8th, I can ask if we can have permission. We at the Provo building right now, we still just kind of have the office. Their students are no longer here. They've given us permission to give tours during the day from like 10 throughout the full day on Wednesdays and Thursdays starting next week. But as far as like having a classroom or the boardroom or a space, I can ask the principal if you'd like to hold it here. Otherwise, we do have the Orem office also available.
We're going to have a Zoom link for that, aren't we?
Yes, we'll also do that. So that's later in the agenda if we want to come back to this a little bit later.
Okay.
As we're still talking about the minutes, that date is there, and we can come back to this in a when we get to it on the agenda.
No other questions from me.
So turns out I will be out of town that weekend as well. Let's talk really quickly. Let's talk sometime and we'll figure out what we can do. Okay.
Okay, we'll discuss that later in the agenda.
Okay. Could I have someone make a motion to approve the minutes that were read by Sarah?
I make a motion to approve the minutes read by Sarah.
Thank you, Marta. And then do I have someone to second the motion to approve the minutes?
I can second that motion.
Okay. Okay, let's have a vote. I don't have a screen where I can see everyone tonight. So let me just make a call out to people. So I approve the minutes. Sarah, do you approve the minutes?
Yes.
And Marta, do you approve the minutes
Yes,
as read? Christian, do you approve the minutes for our last meeting as read?
You do.
And Carrie, do you
Yes.
approve the minutes? Okay. And
Susan, you might be able to swipe to the left on your phone and see all of us. Are you able to do that? That's how I do it on my phone when I'm on the mobile.
You're muted, Susan.
Okay. So, here, just 1 minute.
Lisa also is voting to approve, and then Alicia is absent.
Okay, and Lisa, do you vote to approve the minutes as read by Sarah tonight? Okay, so we have a unanimous vote on our minutes. And I'll turn the time over now to Carol Gregory for business and an administrative report.
Sorry, I'm still here. I gotta find my buttons. So the first thing we have on business is just debriefing the open meeting compliance. They had a limit on the number of people that could be in the room. So I know that some people had conflicts and weren't able to join, and other people were not able to get into the room. I know that Sarah was there, and a couple of other people on my team were there. Sarah, do you want to go ahead and give what you took away, and we'll make sure that the email is forwarded to everyone that has a recording and the takeaway summary from that meeting with the UAPCS.
Yes, I got the impression that we have someone that is essentially ensuring that various government agencies are very accurate in our public notices right now. They've done this a few times, and they're just going after various different organizations and making sure that we have a lot of accuracy. There's a good amount of nervousness about it, but legally, from what I understand, is as long as we go back and try and resolve the issue, we have a lot of legal standing because mistakes will be made. Humans make mistakes. So we just need to make sure, and I'm really focusing on making sure we get our public notice up 24 hours in advance with our full agenda. That's extremely important right now. And if we do make a mistake, that's fine. We can go back and correct things. Worst case scenario, we can redo a board meeting. But it's just something that we need to be extra mindful of right now.
Does anyone have any questions or any other thoughts? So one of some other details from this, they recommended that, so the process of what will happen is that this entity files a report and we might get served. And so as soon as we get notice that this person is going to file against us for whatever details in whatever meeting, that we get a lawyer immediately to help us walk through. So we do have Chris Jorgensen for general legal advice. He is also very supportive of recommending Utah lawyers in such a case that we need someone here on the ground in Utah. And there are several lawyers recommended by the UAPCS that are available here in Utah. So we have options for support should that become our situation and are ready to take on that. One of the things that we need to make sure that we have is director and officer liability insurance, and I'm working with Red Apple to find options for that. There's also state risk management liability insurance that we partner with, but risk management doesn't cover this specific thing. So just making sure that we are doing our due diligence, like Sarah said, to make sure that our agendas are accurate and making sure that we get them posted 24 hours. Like some of the reports that this person has filed against schools was like 5 minutes shy of 24-hour notice. Like being that kind of nitpicky of if our board meeting starts at 7, that our agenda is posted not after 7. And the more time we can give that, the better. And we've been really purposeful about that throughout our process. And then if we do find that we made a mistake, another one of the things that could be a problem is if we do not roll call vote when we move into closed meeting. And so some of those procedural things. And then the fix for it is to just hold the meeting properly for that. So any questions on this issue that is happening? Okay. So the next important item of business, sorry, I'm updating some of the notes here. Sarah, if you want to go add those open meeting notes. So enrollment, and so I'll talk about it here because it's relevant and a little bit later in the admin report. These are kind of mixed tonight. We need to seriously look at and consider the possibility of deferring our opening for a year. Our enrollment is continuing to grow. We are continuing to make progress. We are receiving 1 to 2 interests or applications a day, but we need to be receiving 5 to 10 a day. And so we are continuing to make progress. Our group is continuing to grow. Students are moving through that pipeline. We have 25 students in process between filling out our actual application to turning in all paperwork and being fully enrolled. We have 6 or 7 that have brought in all of their paperwork and are completely ready to come in the fall. We have another 10 to 15 who have registered in our student information system of Aspire and only need to bring in their paperwork to finalize that enrollment. We have another 10 to 15 who have filled out the application intending to come and haven't registered in Aspire yet. So we're moving people through that pipeline, getting people together. Our flyers are effective. Our online marketing that Scala is doing, those ads are returning. A fourth of our students who have filled out the application say that they heard about us from the billboards, and quite a few are coming word of mouth. We're continuing to encourage our families to bring friends on the enrollment incentive, and so our efforts are working. They are still slow. A couple of things that I'm working on is Jeff and I are planning a meeting next week to go over very specific budgets of these are the teachers that we're planning to hire, these are their salaries, these are the benefits we can offer, like actual like dollar amounts per student for what do we actually need to be purchasing in this next year, what can we do without, and making sure that the 125 really is our break even, and seeing if we can lower that number based on some grants that we can get and that we're working on filling out, as well as potentially renting a part of the building space and offsetting some of those costs. So we're working on getting some real numbers to make sure we know what our actual break-even number is, and if we can lower that from 125 and getting as close to that number as possible. Let's see. So that's our plan there. As far as deferring opening, so if we don't make our break-even numbers for our budget, here's the major concerns. We have more 10th grade students than 9th grade students enrolling, and these 10th grade families are our founding families that have asked for this, Carrie included. And my biggest concern is what happens to these families who like overwhelmingly say, this is exactly what we're looking for. We don't know of any other option that meets our needs. This is what we're praying for, things like that. If we defer, what happens to those students? So I'll talk in a little bit about some of my ideas around that. Another concern is our teachers. We're trying to hire teachers and they're planning on a salary next year, but you know, what happens if we don't open and we can't pay them? How many are we going to lose? Honestly, we have a really solid team of teachers they understand that we're a startup. They understand they might have to patch together a salary next year and are still interested in getting training and helping with marketing and getting us up and off the ground and being a part of it, even if it takes longer. So our social studies teacher is really on board with that. Our special education teacher is really on board with that. Our music teacher is really on board with that, and potentially our theater teacher is really on board with that. So, you know, we have some things there, but planning on, you know, how do we work together with those teachers and those 10th grade families with some options for getting through this year if we're not opening. Another pain point in deferring a year is the building contract that we have with UCAS. That I don't think they would be able to hold the building for us, and so not only will we be going back to marketing and enrolling and trying to build momentum for next school year, but we'll also be going back to the drawing board on a building. We're still partnered with Roundtable Funding, and they're still committed to making sure that we have something. So they will continue to be working and supporting with us. They don't fulfill their contract until we get a building and can fulfill that. So we still have them on our team, but it does get complicated with the building and how do we tell our families. So part of the work that I am doing with Scala is discussing how do we discuss these pain points if we defer, and preparing a solid message that our families don't feel bait and switched on like promising that we're going to open and then oops, we didn't open, but making sure that they feel supported through the process without scaring them off. And so we're working on those messages. It's not just doom and gloom if we have to defer. There are some really good things going for us, especially in that our future interest is really strong. We have more people on the wait list to come as freshmen our second year of 2027-28 than we have almost currently enrolled. So we do have more future interest, and that future interest continues to build. We still, for every student that gets on the list for coming this year, we have almost an additional student for a future year. So we are still building awareness. We are still building momentum, even though it's not 9th and 10th graders for next year. So that is helpful as we look at, you know, it's not the end of the world if we defer, and we wouldn't be the first school that has to defer to open more solidly. And so in the next couple of weeks, planning with Roundtable, planning with Red Apple, and planning with Scala on a solid presentation to take to the charter school board that says, you know, we gave it our best efforts. Here's where our marketing landed. Here's where our budgets stand. So if we have to defend a lower enrollment for break even, having enough documentation between Red Apple and our board supported of we can make it with this many students and we met that, or saying if we defer, here's our plan, here are the things that are stacked against us, and here are challenges that we will need support to overcome. So that's kind of where we are and where we're looking. Some thoughts and ideas that I have before I open it up for board questions and discussion and ideas. This is not a decision that we're making today, but the board needs to have some input on what this looks like. So some ideas that I have with these 10th grade students and teachers together. I would hate to lose these families, these core families that asked for this. There is a Waldorf high school that is fully accredited and offers online options that we can connect those families with and continue working with our teachers on professional development throughout the year to continue to learn more about Waldorf and setting up their classrooms, and then offering workshops with these 10th grade students that we might lose throughout the school year. Our board would have to, and administrative team, work together. We would ask for a special request from the State Charter School Board to not have open enrollment for juniors, but to keep this 10th grade cohort supported through this gap year and allow them to enroll with us as 11th graders. There will probably be 10 to 15 students in that class. And we'll work with them on an adjusted diploma. They won't get the full program that we want to offer, but we'll get them as much as we can. So we'll have to adjust their credits for the work study program because they'll be missing 2 years of that. We'll have to, they'll probably be graduating with just the 24 minimum credits to graduate, and we'll have to kind of piece that together a little more carefully. They won't be having the introductory and advanced. We'll just work on getting them the full credits that they need to graduate in 11th and 12th grade year. But I think we could also, find a path to meet them halfway and then have that 11th grade class, our second year, our after this deferred year. That also helps support our teachers in being able to practice some of these lessons and support them, and potentially working with this online Waldorf school to support what they are doing and get some coaching in preparation to open. So it could turn into a great strength as we're preparing. I don't know if that would also be possible for some of our 9th grade families, but that is something that we could discuss and look at. I think that would be if we are able to budget wise, when I sit down and look at the revolving loan will be what we have to live on over the next year. So we will have to cut our current employees to probably just the admin team at partial salaries in order to make those funds stretch throughout the school year. And my team is willing to look at that to make sure that this is successful and that we can start strong. So those are, things that we have to be considering, some solutions that we are working on. And we're not quite there yet. We still have 3 weeks until we report back to the State Charter School Board. And potentially we could get 100 enrollments in a week, but that's what we're looking on in the details and trying to piece together and thinking next steps. So any questions, comments from the board on this very difficult and heartbreaking piece?
Thank you for that, Carol. I've started quite a few schools. I've been a pioneer in this in elementary schools, and we always have a donor. Aren't there any donors who would help us in the first year, and then it starts going on its own? But it's almost like you need some fairy godmothers and fathers, even if it's small.
If you've been hiding anybody, come on, bring them in. I'm not opposed to that. I don't know where to find them.
in the Anthroposophical Society. I mean, you know, the study groups, the people who love Waldorf but are retired.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who your people are in Utah. But,
One of the challenges there is that we don't have a lot in Utah yet. Like I think Susan and Sarah can speak to that more, but it's still a growing movement in Utah, and it's growing through charter schools.
Yeah.
Rather than through the private sector. So like I would love to find a donor. But short of finding that, there's not a whole lot of philanthropic work of that kind that happens in Utah either.
The donors have all come out of the one-on-one relationship of the people who are working to start the school. But anyways, I really feel like it's not a bad thing to start so small, if it's possible. And I think you're right about losing that momentum. And those 10th graders, they are fabulous people. You know, the 9th grade is crazy, and the 10th grade is like when they get it. And so you have that wonderful 10th grade quality to begin the school, you know, with a few 9th graders as well that can look up to the 10th graders. And I'm sure that when you open, people will be walking in.
The thing comes down to the budgets and being able to
prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to the authorities, right?
Right, and that we are stewards of the public funds and making sure that we're not going to go belly up and waste all of the resources that have been put into it. So it's we don't have the luxury of a private school that says we can find a cottage for 12 kids to start. We do have to meet minimum enrollments. I appreciate that. And that's why we're going to sit down and look at these are the actual salaries. This is what our exact expenses will be. These are the materials we have to have and can do without. This is what we can get donated. These are alternative income streams, like sitting down and having those actual numbers as close as we can so that we can say maybe we can survive with 80 students instead of 125. Or maybe it really is 127, you know. So once we get that very clear picture and looking at those exact budgets, and this is exactly what we're going to be spending, it'll be very tight in this first year. But being able to look at that, and we're also looking at the faculty, and I've got several of the teachers that are willing to start part-time this year, so they're only getting partial salaries, which lowers our full-time equivalents. We also are considering the so another thing that we need to look at here in a minute is the teaching and student success that we have allotted an additional 35,000 to supplement teacher salaries for high need. So giving a bonus to a math and science teacher that we are having difficulty hiring. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But so we're putting all of those things together. I think having clear budgets will be our biggest friend. And so I'll be meeting with Jeff next week, and I'll send a report out to the board when we have some of those numbers clearly defined. But once we know those details, we can know exactly what student count we're looking for. But I think we do need to have a clear picture of what does it look like and what is our message if we are deferring.
Yeah, but we have to be brave, and it's okay to take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I love it. Thank you so much, Susan.
I like your idea of maybe having them do the online Waldorf school, and just knowing that they're attached still to our school as soon as we can bring the school into reality.
Mm-hmm. That they have a guaranteed spot. They're already enrolled with us. Yeah.
And that gives them a chance to have Waldorf education, even though it's not ideal. to have it online. Is that through the Seasons of Seven? No, is that what you're thinking of, Carol? Okay. That's a really good program. I mean, it really is. So,
And they are fully accredited, so that those credits will be recognized by colleges and universities.
okay.
We also have some of their teachers for their elementary program in Utah. If you're interested in talking with them or anything, we can definitely connect you there. I think you know them as well, Susan.
Yeah. Tiffany.
Hmm.
And yeah, I do have a connection there now.
Is that a charter school? That online school?
It's
Or
a
private
online
school?
school.
Just
It's just an online school. You pay for it.
Private.
Private. I guess you could call it private. Yeah, that's right.
The Utah Fits All Scholarship could be applied to that potentially. I'm not sure.
Whoa.
There's a lot of
Is-
details. I don't know about that.
sorry, it
Go ahead.
feels like everyone's glitchy. Is anyone else having a hard time with the sound? I'm like not getting clear sound for anyone.
Oh,
Picking up a
So
little bit,
it,
Carrie.
I think we're clear on my end. I'm pretty clear hearing you.
it might be on my problem.
How much
Or
is
any
that
problems.
online
Yeah.
school?
That's my concern because I don't know, like even personally, I don't know if we can afford to pay a tuition.
Mhm.
So I would guess that would be other parents' concerns as
Do
well.
we have a number?
I don't know what the cost is on those. I haven't researched that. I could look it up, but I don't.
And I would imagine that online is less than being in person.
Yeah.
We don't have an in-person school. It's entirely Zoom based.
Yeah.
Multiple foreign languages. I'm looking it up.
Do you see a cost for it there?
Yes, it is rather expensive. It is about 7,000 for high school level. I do know Utah
Is
Fits
that
All
per
will
class
cover
or per year?
per year, for an online private school is excellent, but for a family, it's pricey. But yeah, that is for the.
Do they take the scholarship funds that are offered?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
There are also there is the online, the state online option that is I think it's free. I think it's approved. So also partnering families with that, with giving them a list of specific courses. If you take these courses next year, then you'll be on track to graduate. So there are multiple options. The Waldorf is one piece that we can offer those families, but also and if we were able to provide a certain number of students to that program, we might collaborate with that school and see if our families could get a discount if we're bringing in a significant number. So there's multiple options for that. It's just kind of a base idea at the beginning of like what options can we put together for our families. It'll take some legwork on our end if that's where we're going. But if we think that families would, and giving them like, here's a Waldorf option, here's the Utah option, you can still do the workshops with our teachers throughout the school year to be supported in this learning.
There would
That's-
also be a hybrid option as well. You can skip all of their classes and just take their fourfold enrichment classes, which are more of your Waldorf types as well, and that's only a little more than 1,000, which would make it more affordable. I mean, we can blend and do all sorts of things.
And we have Jamie York Academy here that does math and science and literature and all. And he brings them over to Paonia in the summer, and they have a camp where they meet each other. And also, when he's online, he puts them in rooms together to solve math problems and things. It's very good, but I don't know if it's credit or anything.
Find that real quick. I know I've looked into that too.
Oh,
So I don't know that we need to decide those details here.
right.
If the board thinks that we have enough viable options to offer that to families, that we start working on those plans for deferment. And so I'd welcome emails from board members that have any of those options that they know of. to say, here, let's look at these programs, and we can put together, I can have my team put together a recommendation document for those families that says, here's 3 or 4 different paths that if you want to be enrolled in this 11th grade class, our year of opening, these, we will work with you throughout the school year. These are the monthly meetings. This is different paths to get your credits. These are the credits that you have to get in order to be on track to graduate. So, whatever collaboration and if this is something that we want to workshop in our June meeting on June 8th, that we dedicate an hour to sitting down and really talking about this, we can put this on the June agenda.
If we really want to start.
Carol, I just have a crazy idea, and just let me know.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
So, what if I took 10 to 12 students in 9th grade just to work at my house? And, I'm not teaching out of my house this year. Someone could teach out of my house, and they could do classes at least for the 9th grade, and then someone else could do classes for the 10th grade at another location, like a home.
I love that idea. Let's do that.
Okay, so let me put this in the notes. So looking at an alternative model where our first year, instead of renting this building, we do kind of a cottage space where we have one 10th grade class of 10 kids and one 9th grade class of 10 kids, and with what we have currently enrolled. The rent is a lot more minimal, and
Well, it could be nothing for me. I would donate my home.
okay.
You would still need
Um,
some compensation, I think, legally, if it's just
Yeah.
insurance and things
Okay.
like that.
Yeah. So I think I can go ahead and discuss that with Roundtable and see what we can do there. There's also school safety concerns. There's also, like, I don't know, I'm willing to discuss that, but some things that come to my mind are the school safety requirements. There's certain, like, just, things that are kind of required. And then also considering if we're like spread in a few different places, how will that impact marketing for people to like come and do school tours, and can they trust that we're a legitimate school for things? So I will talk to Jeff and Clint about those. Like, is there an alternative building option that would be cheaper? That would allow us to have fewer students. So yeah, I think out of the box thinking is important right now, and what we can do. Just knowing that there's a lot of school safety compliance that we have to figure out, and other programs. Internet is kind of set up and contracted for this building. I don't know that we would be able to have internet access if we're not in this building. So there's some things to explore, just trying to give the board kind of a picture of since we are a charter school, some constraints that we have, but I'm willing to have that conversation with our people.
How many are enrolled right now, Carol, altogether? Even the possibilities.
So we have a little over 30 students who are in various levels of I'm interested to fully enrolled. Let me pull up our account really quick and get the exact number of each category for you. And we even got 3 new ones today. Yeah. Or since the last time I logged in.
And
So we have 12 what are called incoming leads. These are families that have connected with us at an event or clicked I'm interested online. Some of these come from the online ads that Scala is running. Some of them were people that we talked to at the events that we visited. So they said, I'm interested, but they haven't done more. These are current 8th or some of them are 8th graders this year. Some of them are I don't know. It's 9th and 10th graders generally. We have a new application that we received today that will be moved into our accepted category. So we have 22 students who have filled out the application. I want to come. 22 students. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll look in just a second. So that's 21 that are like, I really want to come. I'm coming. So let me move to Aspire and look at that. So from there, from that list, they go to Aspire and they fill out their parent registration and give us their students' information. So we have 6 who are fully future enrolled, 5 10th graders, 1 9th grader, who have turned in all of their paperwork and are fully enrolled with us for next year. There's an additional 7 of those 21 accepted students who have filled out the online registration, and all they need to do is bring us their birth certificate and we can fully enroll them. So that's the only piece that we're missing from about 7 students. They often will come at the cottage meeting. We're trying to get them in for tours. Some of them will bring that paperwork on to our June 6th event. So those are the numbers of where our students are. And like I said, we got another 3 today, someone that filled out the application. And we moved them from application received tomorrow. They'll be moved to accepted. So we'll have 22 in accepted. And then we give them phone calls and emails saying, here's the link to register and Aspire. We give them a phone call. Do you want us to walk you through that? You can come and enroll in person if you would like. So we give them multiple options for moving through that process.
Do you have a copy of the curriculum of what they will be learning? You know, like the
We have
With the
multiple
teachers.
documents that we give them. We give them the school calendar so they know what all of the days are. We have the graduation requirements. We have a mock schedule, like this is a potential schedule. This is kind of when and what the courses that your student will take. So yeah, we have
I mean,
information.
what
for them.
inspires them to come? Because a calendar and a schedule is, you know, is basic school stuff.
Right.
I'm wondering how we have something that shows the difference and the engagement of the students. You know,
May I interject?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was inspired by that Jane Doe story that got put on Facebook. I read through that and I thought, that's real. That's an imaginary student, but that was real what she was doing. I thought, golly, why didn't I have that when I was in high school?
Yeah.
It was exciting.
So it's those Thesa, to answer your question, it's that marketing efforts that they once they get to this list, they've already heard the story, they've already seen, they've had connected with us somehow. When they come in for a tour and we talk about, this is how we run the school, these are our priorities. The cottage meeting presentation, it's recorded online. We give that presentation to families. So all of those conversations are wrapped up in this is who we are and this is what we do. And this is those testimonials that we have of is your child struggling with this and that. That we're focusing on the holistic, the work study program is drawing people, the farm to table, our partnership with Hedgerow Hill Farm. Like those are components that are a part of all of the conversations. By the time they've hit this accepted list, these 22 students, they know all of that and they're sold on that. It's just a matter of giving us paperwork so that they can show up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would we be able to do like offer the parents an option, be like, this is a cottage school option, and like maybe have one of our teachers be hired by the parents? Because like I know like the tuition at some of the Waldorf cottage schools is much less than $7,000 a year. And
the difficulty in high school is that you need subject specific teachers, right? Like one teacher can no longer hold the whole class. You really do need someone that can carry, and it might take two teachers, right? You might have one teacher that can do both history and English, and another that does math and science. But it is more difficult. It's not as simple as just one teacher. And then you also have to consider credits to graduation. And
So could we hire all the teachers that are, you know, that we're wanting to hire when we actually open super, super part-time to teach this small group of kids? Is that like possible at all?
Let
Mm-hmm.
me reach out to you. This is outside the scope of the board, but I have another idea that I can discuss with you and Carol if you're
That'd be awesome.
interested. But this is going to involve multiple homeschool programs and other accredited agencies. I think it might work for you and what you need for your family, but it's not
Fun.
board specific.
Thank you, Sarah.
so Azure Fields Charter High School has to follow our charter. We have
Right.
to
I'm
provide
just
within the
wondering.
charter. I don't think we can provide a private option as Azure Fields Charter High School.
That's what I'm saying. Can we do that separate from Azure Fields and just say, hey, like,
Privately, our people can do whatever we want.
that's what I'm saying. Can
Reach
it
out
be?
to me afterwards.
Okay.
As far as our board and as far as me as an administrator, technically no.
Okay.
Right? Like we can give a recommendation of programs that will meet our requirements for them to come in 11th grade. These are the courses that you need to get. These are some accredited options. Like we can help our families with some of those options, but we can't, as Azure Fields, provide them because we are bound by
Okay.
our charter.
Well, I was just wondering if it could be like, hey, here's an option for the parents, you know, if
Yes,
you want to do
that's
that
something
and
we
just
can
have
do.
it be totally separate. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Sorry. We can
That's
move on.
okay.
Just a panicking parent over here.
Yes, I know.
Reach out to me after. I do have a question, Carol, or at least a suggestion.
Yeah.
Something we might want to run by Jeff. I am aware that a lot of the commercial business space in Lehigh is suffering severely with the work from home movement going the way it is. A lot of businesses have also, they might have 2 floors and they are only using 1 floor right now because half of their employees are not there. The other nice thing about
Clint, not Jeff.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Clint. They're not there, and a lot of them have to have some fairly strict security for data privacy reasons. I don't know if that's an option to sublet or if there's my
We
hope would be
looked
that's
at those options. Like, I mean, we did. We vetted those
Okay.
options in trying to find a space. So we
Okay.
can go back to like if we're deferring, I think we go back to that. I think as we look at specific numbers, if we find out that it takes fewer numbers and we can find another lease agreement that is I don't know that we'll find anything friendlier than what we have that's
I
already
don't
set
think
up.
so either. I'm just thinking 2 offices, if we only have 60 kids, 2 conference rooms could potentially handle that. And so that's where, I don't know exactly, you know what I mean. So it
Right.
would not have worked before if we had 100 students, but is it possible if we have 50 or whatever it is?
Yeah. I'm happy to have those conversations, but yeah.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But we're just going to begin this year, and that's a focus that we have to have.
Right.
I'm also wondering, have we tried to get on the news to reach out to news outlets and feed them a story, maybe as like a parent perspective?
We'll revisit that, but yes, and we had the one news outlet that reached back and led us through the article that was in Waldorf Today and in the Lehigh and American Fork. We've sent multiple everybody that we could, all the news outlets in Utah.
So we have an initiative here to do a high school, and they're deferring it to next year because the charter wasn't ready to hand in. But Cassandra is wanting to do a video that she wants to share with you
we
about,
talked about it.
yeah. And I think that would be another, another arm of marketing.
I don't have the ability to support that right now as we're trying to finalize our things. If we have enough other schools that join that, then I think we could look at providing some support for that. But we're not equipped to help carry that with her at this point.
No,
You muted.
she should do it by herself. We have a videographer here, a very good one.
Yeah.
And we have people he can interview online, like Tom Schaefer.
We've been looking at also, bringing in some of the other Waldorf high schools through the Alliance of Public Waldorf Education and OSNA to help with this movement. So I've been communicating with Cassandra on that.
Are we
And then
doing,
using that for marketing. Sorry, Carrie, yes?
sorry, are we doing any social media advertising?
Every day.
I am getting like so many social media advertisements for every other school. But
We're pushing them out every day, and Scala also has, like we paid for them to do meta ads in our area that are specific to Provo and Orem and Vineyard with targeted ads for our school and our program. And we've had multiple leads. Actually, Gage was really impressed that we had 6 leads from that in the first week. He said that's actually really, it seems slow, but that continues to build as they continue to push out those campaigns. And our families have the billboards, they have flyers being put on their doors. They're seeing these campaigns on their computers that are focused and targeted to them. So we're providing multiple touch points. The best is word of mouth, bring your friends. Honestly, if every single student that we have on our interested in enrollment list, even just our accepted students who have started the application process, if each of them brought 4 friends, we would have our numbers. We've had 1 student do that so far.
I think all our 4 friends are already enrolled.
Yeah. that's part of it, we have the problem of an echo chamber, but
Yeah. Oh gosh. So do we have a sign at the building that says future home of Azure Fields now? Okay. Well, good work. Keep it up.
Thanks. Yep, we're doing all the things that we can, and I'm confident that we're still moving in the right direction, and we could potentially get 10 in a day at any point. There's still the possibility that we don't have to defer, but I think it's just worth saying, and worth showing up to the conversations of being transparent with our people in this process and giving them as much notice as we can without scaring them away, but having a plan. If this becomes our eventuality, we are confident that we're still moving in the right direction and that it will still come together, and that we are still here to support you in your educational goals, even though it might look different than we anticipated. So controlling the narrative. I'd like to kind of move on. If there's no other, about the 10th grade situation, using our teachers throughout the year, the building, we're working on the marketing. So we're having these conversations. If there's no other specific questions about the deferment, then we do have several other things to move on to. Okay.
I think it sounds like we need to move on. Yes.
Okay, so board member recruitment is another thing that we need to continue doing. We are working on putting that a little bit more prominently on our website. As we're getting these, now we have 30 families that potentially we can have some board members coming into. Marta has voiced that she needs to resign sooner rather than later. And finding a new treasurer, we still have to fill a vacancy in vice president. And getting more, they can start with voting members. We can put them right into these officer positions. Because we're
A lawyer would be good.
So we just need people to apply, and so continue talking in your circles. And just know that we are putting more prominently on the website of, if you would like to be a part of the board, we're also accepting board member applications, working on putting, documentation that's succinct together, that they know clearly this is the time commitment, these are the expectations, these are the rewards of being on the board, not just like this is all you're required to do, but like help us meet our mission, help us support our families, that kind of thing. Marta, is there any comment that you want to make on your resignation, on a timeline, on anything that you wanted to add to that?
I think, am I muted? No.
We can hear you.
It's just the reason I need to leave is a conflict with family and my board responsibilities. I feel a greater need to address my family right now than, not that you guys aren't important, but I have to get my priorities straight, and that's my priority right now. It's my family.
And so recognizing as a board, so if any of the current voting members want to step up into that, we will absolutely support you. But if we don't have at least 3 officers, we don't have a quorum. So Marta cannot step down until we have a treasurer. We do currently have enough board members, if someone steps into that position, that we can still have a quorum of 3 officers and 2 voting members. We are also at our minimum of 7 members right now. So one way or another, we do need at least one more board member in any kind of capacity. So that's kind of the reality of where we at with board members.
I'm still here. I'm having to charge my phone, so you won't be able to see me, but I'm still around here.
No,
But yeah, I think that's an issue with our board.
and I think it's a common issue with charter boards, as we've seen in various contexts. So just nurturing those relationships. Think about people in your community. Like, they don't have to be directly connected to the school. Is there someone in the community that would be interested? So just kind of reaching out of like, hey, would you like to help improve schools in Utah? This is our program. Would you like to help serve on our board? So
They don't even have to have a financial background. They could grow into it.
And we've got training and supports and whatnot. So anyway, that's just kind of an update. There's not really anything to decide on that, just keeping everyone aware, and that we kind of need to figure out this recruitment thing. And I think as our parent community grows, then we have more and more people to pull from. But personal invitations work best. I'm always on the lookout for someone that might be a potential board member. And so just, kind of feed names. If you want the request to come from me as the executive director, I'm happy to reach out to people and, hey, you were recommended as a member for our board. If you're not comfortable talking to people that you're connected with, so send me names, but also, I'll, let the board know when we get a page on our website that is a little bit more, like, please join our board. We also, it's tricky also with our new families, and we're not quite established yet, and so some of them may not be ready to commit to that, but others might be super interested in committing to providing more support and having a say in what happens. So that's the debrief there. And making sure also we do need to make sure that we have enough members, parents on the board for good balance, and I think we have that currently. Okay, so the next thing is the June meeting, which is on June 8th. Is that correct?
That was the previously agreed
From the last board meeting?
That was the previously agreed
Yeah, so I don't know what happened because we had all those we had all those surveys about when people could come, and there was no time and no day when everyone could come. So I just don't know what happened since then. I haven't heard since then.
So I think, go ahead, Sarah, you know better than I do.
Mhm.
Sorry. So we did not have a single day in June that worked for everyone. So I picked the day to stay on June 8th because that was what
Okay.
was agreed upon originally, and it was minimal conflict. We were going to miss Carrie, but no matter what we do, we're going to miss a day. However, Christian earlier mentioned that he also may not be available during that time. And so if you would like, I can send out more surveys, or if you would like
To discuss now.
to discuss it now, I've pulled up my spreadsheet with what I had before, although I only had responses from a few people. I can tell you that. Hold on.
So, Kristen, can we get clarity on, so you will be out of town. Would you be, is there a time on that day that you could carve out if you were needed for voting?
What's the time on that, Carol? Is it 7 to 8:30?
No, I think that one is at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. so that the board can sit and work on, so an hour for some specific capacity building, going through some of the board organization documents, doing kind of a board review, assessment of how did we work this past year, setting goals for the next year as we move to operation, defining
Time frame of the whole day.
from like 10 to 2 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with a lunch provided or potluck or whatever we want to decide. Lisa, something's rubbing against your microphone that's a lot of noise.
I'll turn it.
So, Christian, on June 8th, you said you would be out of town, but would you be able to zoom in at particular times during that day for voting on things or participating in important conversations?
It's the day we're coming back, so I may be on a plane. So I will get more information about that and get back to you.
Okay, so if you can, give the times of the flights and different things.
Yeah, my wife would know, Helen would know, but yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
So just, getting that information as soon as possible, potentially absent with notice.
Based on the information that was submitted previously,
Mm-hmm.
the 1st, 7th, 8th, 12th, 13th, 15th, and 20th will all have only one person missing. Who is missing that day varies significantly, but if we're okay with having one person be missing with notice, those would be potential other days. We'd want to clarify that with people to make sure that those haven't changed, though.
So if we move it by one day, how many people are impacted? If we move it to Tuesday, it changes who is impacted, but was the 9th one of those, or?
The 7th and 8th are the closest two dates.
Okay, and that's Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, I volunteer at my earning learning center 10 to 3 Monday through Thursday. So any day but Friday. Friday I'm available all day.
Would
Any
you be able to
Friday.
take one day off for this?
I can, but then I have to make up the Friday. Yeah. Just letting you know I can.
Lisa,
It's
you didn't have those dates listed for being unavailable.
what did I list?
You listed the 12th and 13th.
Everything keeps changing in my world. That's why I need to step down as treasurer.
Oh, you listed the days you were available, not the days you were unavailable. Okay, hold on a second. That
Oh.
might help. That's actually okay. If that's the case, I don't see if you're available on the 12th, then we should all be available on the 12th.
Yeah, I'm available on the 12th. Seriously.
Is
You wanna move
anyone
it to
not
then?
available on the 12th?
Yeah, you know, my problem is I don't even have my calendar here or anything.
Okay.
So, but I'll just make it myself available, whatever happens.
Okay, so
I-
Susan, could
Yes.
you reach out to me tonight if you are not available on the 12th? Because we might be able to move
Okay.
it to the 13th. Let me know
Okay.
as soon as you can.
Well,
Everyone,
I don't know about the 12th. I just have, like I said, I don't have my calendar, so I don't
The
know.
12th is a Friday.
yes.
Yeah.
And this is also 1 week before we report back to the State Charter School Board. So I will be there with the most updated numbers and working on our final plan for whether we're deferring or continuing to open and what that looks like.
I might have to leave like by 1 o'clock on the 12th. I just have an MRI scheduled. I might be able to reschedule it, but that's
And-
my only issue.
Potentially, we don't have to go until 2 p.m. Like, you know, depends on what we can get through and what we want to schedule on that day.
Okay.
If people
Or we
can-
could start earlier.
Or can I miss the last, little bit if we're not voting? I
Right.
could do that.
Right.
But I can check about rescheduling as well.
Okay.
If people can message me if they are not available on the 12th or the 13th, or post it in the public chat if you feel comfortable, I can collect any of those days and try and set something up. But that looks like it might be available for us on either or. But
Okay,
please let me know.
I think the board does need to vote on moving the board meeting.
Could we vote to move it to the 12th with the 13th as a backup?
Yes.
So I propose that we have a vote on moving the board meeting to the 12th with the 13th as a backup. Thank you, Carol, for taking care of that. Okay. So
think that's-
Lisa seconds.
Oh, so Sarah, you called it and Lisa is seconding.
Yes.
You're a no age, right? Okay.
Yeah. It looks like Susan has stepped away for a moment.
I checked my calendar, Sarah, and the 12th is good for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'll work everything else around it.
Okay. That's wonderful. I love it when things work out. Okay, so Christian got a thumbs up. I assume that's a vote. So I'm going to say Christian is yes for moving the board meeting with June 12th with the 13th as a backup day. And I'm going to just wait for a minute for Marta said yes as well. I'm just waiting for Susan.
I vote yes as long as I'm okay to leave at 1 o'clock on the 12th if I need to.
Carol, I know you're not a member of the board. Does that day work for you as well?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
You just can't vote, but we need to make sure that you can be there, Carol, because if not, we're all going to be in trouble.
Yes. I am there. And I can look at requesting use of this building on that day.
It also looks like Alicia would likely be available that day, but we need
Okay.
to reach out to her and update her as well.
Yep. And I also added to the note, so it's kind of scheduled from 10 to 2, potentially from 8 a.m. to 12. As long as the board decides and posts 24 hours in advance, we are good to go. I don't know that it has to be an official action in the meeting to vote on that date. So just to move on a little bit while we're waiting for Sarah, I think you can go ahead and step up and finish the voting until Susan is available again.
Okay. I am going to vote yes. And Fisa, what is your vote? Yes. Okay, so Alicia's absent and we are waiting for Susan to return.
Okay. So then the August meeting is another important thing to set. I don't know that we have to set that tonight, but everybody needs to come on June 12th with an August date for the meeting and a potential rhythm for next year. So we do need to have an August meeting set and posted on our website. We've set a policy that says as such. The purpose of that August meeting will be to set the rhythm for the year's board meetings, to set up committees that will be needed for the school year, to approve anything that has come up in the summer, and needs to plan the board retreat. You'll probably need to review your goals, setting the rhythm and intention, and making sure that the board is ready for the school year, and any last items that need to happen. One of my recommendations would be as early in August as possible, potentially that first week, as we're getting ready to start. And then, just making sure that the board is ready for the school year. So I would, just encourage the board to, if you have a recommendation today that everyone can start considering, that would be a good idea. And then everybody really planning with intention to block out that day in August, and it should be, just a regular board meeting. Considering if Tuesdays is still the best day for everybody, or if there's a different day in the week. If you want to set specific dates throughout and making sure that everyone has that on that calendar and that's updated on our website. Also considering, if you want to keep it on like the first Tuesday or whatever. So just considering that schedule. I know that it would be difficult to set that now because we don't know exactly what the next school year looks like until we get into it. Anyway, that's my plug for August meetings. Any questions or discussion or suggested dates?
I like Tuesdays a lot. It's no real deal breaker for me if it's the second or the third or the first. I do think the first might be nice if we are looking to kind of shift things quickly. It allows us to do things right before, school starts and things of that nature and kind of get it done for the month as well. So I think the first Tuesday of the month would work just fine.
Susan, we went ahead and everybody voted to move to June 12th. You're the last one that needs to give a vote for that. And we're discussing the August board meeting.
June 12th is for the board retreat.
You're muted.
You're muted.
That sounds great with me.
Okay. So then the August meeting, I just reviewed that it's to set your schedule for the 27 school year, to set a rhythm for the year's board meetings, to review your goals for the board meeting, setting up the committees that are needed, approving anything that came up in July for the start of the school year. It's been suggested the first Tuesday of the month. Sarah mentioned that Tuesdays seem to fit. I suggested doing it as early in the month as possible as we're potentially getting ready to start, so that we have everything finished that we need to have finished for that school year. Sarah's the only one that has made comment. Not that we have to set it today, but everybody needs to have a date ready to set and get on our website no later than the board retreat.
I agree with Sarah that Tuesday nights are good nights, provided I'm still on the board at that time. First Tuesday of August sounds great to me.
Sounds good
If
to
it's
me
in
too.
If it's in the evening.
I think Tuesdays would probably be good. I'm just flipping through the calendar. With the exception of potentially January, we might want to shift it just for New Year's. It's on the 5th, but it might be helpful to move it to the second Tuesday just for that week. But we can discuss
And the
that
first
at the.
Tuesday is August.
Oh, I mean, if we're doing the first Tuesday every month.
Right.
So I would just
So yeah.
suggest that we discuss an exception for January come the June meeting.
Okay. So I don't think there needs to be an action on that. That's you guys will finalize that in your June retreat for determining the August board meeting. So make sure that you're ready for that decision. Marketing and enrollment, we've kind of already covered in the other business that we covered. Just a couple of additional things. The Scala support has been really great. They're a really strong team. They've been working really hard to support us. They're providing a lot of man hours and engaging with these families. And they've been very purposeful. We've shared all of our marketing materials with them. So they have our videos, they have our testimonials, they have all of our pictures, and they're incorporating those into the online ads. We are planning that message for that decision in June of whether we're opening or deferring so that the community feels like we do know what we're doing, that we have a strong message and a strong plan, and that we are prepared. Gage and Claire will be at the UAPCS conference in 2 weeks, and so we'll be able to meet face to face, finalizing our plans for that presentation to the State Charter School Board, and Claire and Gage will be also in attendance at that meeting online. A quarter of some interesting facts in our enrollment. A quarter of our currently enrolled students said that they found us from our billboards, which is a pretty high percentage for billboards. About the same is also coming from Scala's marketing efforts. So this is a good partnership, and they are delivering as they're supposed to, and so things are still going. We are still also encouraging families to bring friends. Some of our new people, we've had several new people come from the flyers that have been put on the doors that are excited to tell their friends about it and to come to our events. And those enrollments of these people that are like, oh my gosh, this is perfect, their enrollments are going pretty quickly. They send in the application, they get right into Aspire, they bring in their documents the next day. So we're still having some pretty good success, and our team is set up for a smooth transition for those families that we can handle multiple enrollments in a day. Staff hiring update. Our social studies teacher is highly committed. We have a great English teacher. Our theater and music teachers are really excited, and our special education teacher is they've accepted offers through our system. They know what their salary is supposed to be for next year. We're still trying to fill math, science, and PE, and we're going to get to the TSSA thing in just a second. We're also finalizing the fine arts position, getting that information and negotiations there for woodworking, simple mechanics, painting, drawing. We've got a person for that. I do also have a connection from my contacts who will be potentially part-time to fill in gaps in math and science as needed. He filled out his application today, and we'll be interviewing him in the next little bit, and is willing to do a part-time schedule and a part-time salary, and engaging with our community. He is very aligned with our Waldorf anthroposophy and ideas, and is really excited about the school, and is doing some private tutoring things in math and science that are very aligned, and he feels very comfortable with that. Potentially that position will need the board to approve an Azure Fields specific teaching license. Everybody else either has a Utah professional license, or we will be putting them on the Appel alternate route to licensure. I'm working with state licensing on what that looks like and what we need to have in place to support them through that process. And good news, if we do defer, I think that we will be able to still help those teachers that are on that alternate route. They can go ahead and start their coursework and be closer to full certification by the time we open. Some information on grants and budget implications. There is a mental health support grant that I'm putting together. We have a 3-year plan for mental health support, having some goals that our students are feeling supported and a healthy part of our school community is one of our goals, and making sure that they have access to mental health. This grant is based on our enrollment and is about $27,000 this school year. We can use this grant specifically for salaries. So we're looking at supplementing and supporting a school counselor position that we're getting ready to post. And so this grant will help pay a significant portion of that salary to help relieve the burden that we can get a highly qualified high school counselor to help support our students. We could also use a portion of that to pay a student support aide to be supervising in our wellness room. So when a student is deregulated and just needs a break to refocus, someone in that wellness room will check them in, give them tools to be able to go back to class successfully. And so this grant can be used for those salaries. I will email the board with a 3-year plan that will need to be approved in the June meeting as a part of this grant, and that grant is due this week, so we're finalizing that paperwork in the next couple of days. The other big grant that we're working on, we have until partway through June to finish the paperwork on this. One of the things that the board needs to approve, and that will be on the agenda in June, is our Teacher and Student Success Act. This is bonuses, supplemental salary increases that we are able to assign to whoever the board determines is a teacher of high need. So a couple of ways that can be done. The board can decide that all of our teachers are at high need and all of our teachers are going to get a certain, whatever the allotment is, if we divide that by the number of teachers that we have. Some other suggestions that I have for the board to consider in how we allocate these funds. We are struggling to find qualified math and science teachers. So as I'm continuing to interview for those positions throughout the summer, if I can say, here's our base salary, but this is a position of high need and the board has determined that we can offer you this bonus, then we can potentially hold on to some qualified teachers that would otherwise potentially walk away just based on salary. So math and science. I think as we move forward, we can also use this. The board can determine that having a Waldorf certified teacher would also qualify them for this supplement on their salary, to encourage our teachers to. So not only will they get a higher base salary on our pay, but they can get a bonus on their salary if they do that. I would recommend against that distinction in this current year because there are not a whole lot of Waldorf trained teachers. But as we move forward, we can hold on to our teachers that are getting Waldorf trained, not only by the way that our salary schedule is structured, but by them knowing that as they get that certification, they will also qualify for this additional salary bonus. Any questions about this Teacher and Student Success Act?
Can I ask a different question?
Yes.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I don't want to get too far either. I know that we had that really promising PE teacher that was going to also be the
He took
facilities
another
manager.
position that was better for his family.
Oh, sad.
I think it was a location determination. And he still wants to be a part of our community. He might come later. but there was a better option for his family.
That's fair. Okay, thank you.
Yep. He's still, and he actually has given a couple of referrals of other teachers that might be good fits. So yeah, he's still interested in the community and felt really bad that he wasn't able to stay with us. And really appreciated the board support and how we're organizing things. And it just came down to having to make a better decision for his family.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Any other questions on this mental health support grant or the Teacher and Student Success Act?
No. I think that as it comes to it, you will find the right places to use those and just let us know.
Well, so the board has to approve those for the school year, and we do this every May, June. So just kind of knowing my recommendation for now is that we use it for math and science this year. And we look at revisiting this next year to include Waldorf certifications as we get that to our teachers. We might potentially be able to word that policy around this grant in such a way that it includes both.
So do we need to vote on it at this meeting?
Not at this meeting,
No.
and I will have a policy drafted for the next meeting. If are there any other, I guess my question is, are there any other ideas? Are there any other ideas of needs that we have for teachers that would want to be considered?
I mean, there are so many, Carol. I couldn't. I mean, I'd like more money to go to the farm school and more hours to go down there and other things. So I just think we need to wait and let you make your best judgment and tell us what you think the school needs most.
Okay. I'll have more details on that at the June meeting in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So the last little bit, Finance Committee, I'm working with Red Apple on finalizing the actual budget. So we're going through the startup grant and making sure that all of those funds are accounted for. We ended up getting $319,000 on that grant. I think the board actually only budgeted right around $309,000. So we're going through and we allocated some extra funds towards marketing from that grant. And so the board will need to approve the final budget at the June meeting and making sure that all of those funds are accounted for. We are also drafting various budget options for next year based on various enrollment numbers to find what our real break-even number actually is. We'll also be working on a budget for deferring as well as we are opening in the fall. And so that's where we are at with those budgeting, and then we'll present those to the board. Jeff, I'll let him know, and he should be able to come to at least a portion of the June retreat for that discussion and supporting us with that budget understanding and approval. And how things will work going forward. So next year, assuming that we're opening and we're receiving our allotment every month, there is a lot more support that Red Apple provides us. And that daily, we'll be working I'll be meeting with them every week on budget reconciliation and making sure that all of the funds are going according to budget. So that's where we are heading. We still have not formed a consistent committee for marketing and outreach, but our team is working really well with Scala on that. And that is all that I have. Any questions for me as a director? Anything that the board feels like they want to know from me or that I need to be addressing?
Is there anything besides finding 100 kids tomorrow that want to join the school that we could do to help make this easier?
I appreciate the board and everybody's efforts to show up. We're just going to continue honing our communication, making sure that our processes are solidly in place, that everybody knows what the expectations are, working on being more consistent with reminders and notifications. So please just keep checking your board emails consistently, using our communication methods effectively. And when we send things to review, please take the time to review them. So, but I appreciate the board and all that you do to help us be successful, and come to our school on June 6th and invite people to come as we have another event.
Sounds good.
Okay, Susan, I give it back to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all again for coming tonight. I know this is a little bit discouraging, some of our talk, but I feel like we got some nice ideas to at least consider throughout. So let me do our closing first, and then we'll move to adjourn our meeting until June 12th. So we're planning right now. Okay, so the healthy social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul, the whole community finds its reflection, and when in the community, the virtue of each one is living. Do we have someone? Do we have someone who would motion?
I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Who would make a motion that we adjourn our meeting tonight?
I'd make a motion that we adjourn our May meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. And anyone second that motion?
I will second the motion, Susan.
Okay. Fisa got there before you with her thumb. And then let's have a vote on adjourning our meeting until June 12th. I can see you all now, so we could just raise our hands if you'd like. There we go. And we have a unanimous vote to adjourn the meeting until June 12th, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I know this was hard for everyone.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Record.